Okay, right. So let's get started without any further ado. So as mentioned in today's class, we go with Linux commands. And before we get into the commands, a brief intro on what Linux operating systems are, what Kali Linux specifically is, and what are some important folders in the Linux OS. Okay. So when you talk about Kali Linux, this was formerly or in the olden days known as Backtrack Linux. Okay, and this was since the very beginning itself an open source Debian based Linux operating system. What I mean by Debian based is again, since the Linux OS was open source, people started downloading it and they started creating their own versions of it. That's why there are multiple flavors in Linux. Okay. So there's Debian operating system flavored like Kali, Ubuntu, there's Fedora, Red Hat, etc., CentOS. The reason why we have these many Linux operating systems is because the source code was given to the public and people started building their own versions out of it. One such version is your Kali Linux, built specifically as a tool for cybersecurity with all the important applications or softwares for penetration testing and other operations in it. Okay. So you can perform pen testing, you can perform security research, computer forensics, reverse engineering, vulnerability assessment, vulnerability scanning, again, red team testing, blue team testing, all sorts of things from Kali. Okay. And for all of these operations, it has more than 600 plus tools pre-installed in it. And these tools are not available for you in Windows by any chance. Okay. So again, when you talk about Linux in general, guys, this is quite different from your Windows OS. Okay. Your Windows was built by Microsoft, again, by Bill Gates. Okay. And this is a very GUI user-friendly operating system. GUI in the sense graphical user interface, where you can use your mouse to perform a lot of operations and you have that clickable features. Okay. In Linux, that is not the case. Linux was built primarily for CLI interface, command line interface, okay, where you can perform operations through certain commands. Okay. And that gives a very powerful control to the user to execute huge operations with single line commands itself. Okay. So Linux is much more preferred for server or development environments. Whereas Windows, on the other hand, is preferred for client operating systems, okay, for end user operating systems, for personal computers, for gaming, productivity applications, etc., okay. And on the other hand, as mentioned, Linux is for server or development environments. It can also be used for third-party users or end users as well. And there's a large community support and a wealth of free and open source software in Linux. So most of the applications which are paid for you in Windows are available for free as alternatives in Linux. Okay. And there's one more category of operating systems which was invented with the in the beginning days of Apple. The Mac OS specifically built for Apple hardware. Okay. And the main feature of this OS is its sleek and intuitive user interface. Okay. It gives you that niche look, okay, which makes it look very good compared to the other operating systems. Okay. Again, it works on the basis of Unix itself. Unix is the main parent family for Linux. Okay. And it uses the same architecture as Linux operating systems and provides a very stable and secure environment. Okay. And most of the times, Mac OS is chosen for its design, for its multimedia capabilities, and that seamless integration in the entire Apple ecosystem. Okay. And this is specifically built only for Apple hardware. You cannot install Mac OS in any other again devices. Okay. It's built only for Apple devices itself. Okay. Whereas on the other hand, Linux and excuse me, where on the other hand, Linux and Windows can be installed on any vendor. Okay, so there's that cross-platform compatibility with Windows and Linux. Okay, you can install it on any manufacturer device, Dell, HP, Lenovo, whatnot. Okay, but Apple's Mac OS is not that way. It is only built specifically for Apple-related devices. Okay. Now, when you talk about the Linux operating system's file architecture, this is quite different from your Windows, guys. Okay. Your Windows has a drive-based architecture. What I mean by drive-based is there are multiple drives, C drive, D drive, E drive, which are also commonly known as partitions. Okay. And all the important files are stored in the C drive, the first drive. Okay. Your Linux also has these partitions, but again, all of these will fall under one main folder itself called the parent root folder. So this folder, what you call as folders in Windows, are commonly known as directories in Linux. Okay. So the top level directory or the most important directory in a Linux operating system is the parent root. It is also commonly represented with a /. Okay. And under this parent root directory itself, you have all the other subdirectories or subfolders. And each directory here serves its own unique purpose. Okay. And one more important point to note is what you call as administrator in Windows operating system is called the root user in Linux operating system. So root or administrator can be used interchangeably. Okay. The user with the highest privileges in the Linux operating system is called the root user. Okay. And now let's talk about some important folders as mentioned. So if I open up my Kali operating system here, let me go to my VMware and start up my Kali OS. I log in here with my default credentials, username Kali and password Kali as well. Username KALI and password also KALI. Now if I open up my file system here with this icon, these are all the folders available in your Kali operating system. And all of these are present in one single folder called the parent root. So if you click on the search bar here, you can see the location is shown as /. So your parent root directory, which is simply represented with the /, is the top level directory. All the other directories, all the other files are a part of the parent root itself. Okay. So this acts as the main top level hierarchy. Okay. Under the parent root now, you have all these other directories: bin, boot, dev, etc, home, lib, etc, etc. And each of it has its own purpose. So the first folder we talk about today is the bin directory. Now, bin stands for binaries. What I mean by binaries are basically the commands which you can execute in the Linux terminal. So bin contains essential binary executable files. Okay. So all the basic commands for listing out files, copying files, moving files, creating files, deleting files. For all these operations, these all commands are stored as scripts in the binary folder. If I show you an example, I can go back to my terminal here, which is like the command prompt in Windows. And in the terminal here, I can run a command, let's say ping, P-I-N-G. Okay. Just like in Windows, there's a command in Linux also ping to check for connectivity. So I can type ping www.google.com. Now you can see I get a response here back from Google's IP. Okay. So if I just expand the screen a bit, you can see I'm getting a response here from Google's IP back. Okay. 142, 250, 205, 223. Okay. And if I press Control C, this stops pinging for you. Okay. Unlike Windows, which stops the ping after 4 packets, in Linux, that is not the case. It keeps on continuously pinging the target until you manually stop the ping with Control C. Okay. And if I run a command here called clear, C-L-E-A-R, it clears the terminal and gives me a fresh one. So all these commands which I'm running here, clear, ping, etc., are stored in the bin folder here as scripts. So if I scroll down, you can see there's a command here called clear, C-L-E-A-R. Let me scroll down much further. Yes, over here, as you can see. Okay. So every time I run the command clear in the terminal, it is fetching this binary from here and it's executing that to perform that operation. Similarly, if I scroll down, you can find a command called ping as well, P-I-N-G. Let me scroll up a bit. P-I-N-G, ping over here. Okay. So every time I run the command ping in my terminal, it fetches the file from here and executes the code written in that file. Okay. So that's what binary is for. It's basically a script to execute that command and the operations in it. Okay. And all the system binaries for these basic operations are available for you in the /bin. Okay. And under bin, the next folder you have, not under bin, under the parent root, the next folder you have is /boot. Okay. Oh, sorry, my voice is getting cut. When you talk about the boot folder, guys, this is the folder which contains all the booting related files. So for the proper boot up of your system, the boot configuration files, the kernel files, all of them are stored in the /boot location. A similar folder like this is available in Windows as well. So in my Kali, this is the folder here. And this contains all the booting related files, kernel files, configuration files, grub bootloader files, etc. etc. And in Windows, this is available in your C drive. So if you go to C drive, Windows, you can see there's a folder called boot. And this contains the configuration files for the proper booting up of your Windows device. Okay. So certain folders like this are pretty similar in Windows and Linux. Okay. Not all are different. Some folders are pretty similar in Windows and Linux, guys. Okay. Boot is one of the examples. After boot, we have the next folder, etc. Now, this is a folder which contains the configuration files. So whatever applications you have, whatever services you have in your Kali system, all of these applications or services have a configuration file for them. And they can be modified from the name of that service. For example, if there's DHCP service, if I had to modify the settings of the DHCP protocol, I can go to DHCP here and you see there's a configuration file, CONF. If I open the file, this is the setting for it. Okay. And by modifying these values from here, I can modify the configuration of the DHCP server. Okay. Similarly, for web server, you have Apache. Apache is the name of the web service in Linux. There's Apache 2, latest version, and there's a configuration file here. For modification for the web server, you can modify this file. So in a similar fashion, all these applications or services you have their own configuration files, okay, in their respective folders here. Okay. Moving on, after etc, you have the next folder, home. Now this is the personal space of every secondary user in Linux. So right now we are currently logged in as a user called KALI. That is not the main user. That is just a secondary account. And the main account is the root account itself. Okay. So again, if I go back here, if I go to my file system, there's home. And in that you can see there's an icon here. If it's not visible, let me zoom in a bit. Yeah. And you can see there's an icon, the home icon, and it shows Kali. So this is the personal space of the secondary user, Kali. His desktop, documents, download, music, pictures, all the data of the secondary user is stored in the home directory. So if you add one more user, that user's folder gets created again. Okay. So for all secondary users, there's this home directory. Now you might have a question, what about the root user? Where are his personal files? They are available in this folder called root. Again, do not confuse that with the parent root, guys. This is the root user's home directory. It's called root itself, not parent root. Okay. And right now the permission is denied because we are logged in as a secondary account. Okay, we don't have the privileges to log into the admin account folder. Okay. Moving on. After that, we have, so after bin root home, we have lib. This contains all the essential libraries supporting files for binaries in bin and bin and sbin. So if I go to lib here, these are all the libraries required, the supporting files required for those various services available in Kali. Okay. So moving back, after lib, we have media. This is the folder for the external devices that you connect. Okay. So if I go to media here, mount point for removable media. So when you connect a USB drive, an external hard drive, or whatever it is, that shows up in the media folder here. Okay. And in the media folder, you would get one more folder with that name of the device you're connecting. And you can access the data from that folder. Okay. So media is basically a folder to connect your your other external peripherals. Okay. External USB devices, the chargers, etc., etc. Again, not chargers, though, I would say USB devices or thumb drives or your external storages. Okay, 1 TB, 2 TB storages, usually those are shown as well. Sometimes, again, you have a bug in your virtual machine. When you connect a charger, it shows that as well. It is an inaccessible folder. This is a bug that I observed in the Kali 2023 version. Okay. Not sure if it is working in the 2024 version, but again, if sometimes your charges are also shown here. Okay. Moving on, after media, you have the OPT folder. This is for third-party application. It stands for optional packages. So when you download any third-party apps from the browser, those are supposed to be stored in the OPT folder here. It's for third-party apps. Okay. Then you have the root directory, as mentioned, the home directory for the root user. This is only accessible by the root user himself or herself. Cannot be accessed by any other secondary account. Okay. Then sbin. So we already had bin folder. What is sbin again? So sbin is for the binaries of the super user. So some commands can only be run as a root user. Such commands are stored in sbin here, as you can see. Okay. So if I run a command called, let's say, apt-get, so that's a command to install applications. So if I open up my terminal and if I type apt-get and install nmap, an application called network mapper, and if I hit enter, you can see it throws an error, permission denied. Why is the permission being denied? I'm not the root user. So only root users have the privilege to run or execute certain commands. Okay. So that is, those commands are stored in the sbin folder. Okay. Then you have the temp folder. This is very similar to your temporary directory in Windows. It contains cache files, and if you want to delete, you can delete those. Okay. So if I go back over here, and if I search for file system TMP, these are the temporary cache files. If you want, you can delete them. Some don't get deleted because they're still in use. Okay. But other than that, you can delete all the other files you want. Okay. So as you can see, cannot delete that file. It is operation is permitted because it is still in use. Okay. Now, if you were the root user, you would have much more access though. Okay. So again, a similar folder like this is available in Windows. So if I go to C drive, it's quite hidden actually. So you have to open up your run, search for percentage temp percentage. And this is the entire path. Oh, sorry. I missed the P there. Yeah, this is your temp directory. So under C drive, there's users folder. Again, select the username, app data, local temp. So these are all the temporary files in your Windows system. And if you want, you can delete all of them. Control A to select all, Shift delete to delete. Okay. And some might not get deleted if they're still in use, so you can skip those. Okay. So this is how you can save up some space in your Windows operating system. Okay. Moving on to the last folder, we have var. Var stands for variable data, which means all the data which can dynamically change is stored in var here. Okay. Data such as your log files, your backup files, your web server related files, etc., are stored in the var directory here. Data stored here can automatically change with system operation. Okay. So for example, if I go to var here, file system var, you can see there's a folder called log. This contains all the system logs available in Kali. Okay. And it's important that you never delete these, okay, or you will lose all the entire log itself. Okay. So the last thing that we learned today is how do you access the root user? So again, you need to create a password for your root user account, guys. So today I'm going to show you how do you generate a password and get login access as a root user, the user with the highest privileges on the Kali system. So you don't need to run the first two commands. These are for the older versions of Kali. You can directly start from the third command to create a new password for root account. You run sudo password. Okay. Now do not worry about these commands. I'll explain them later. But sudo stands for super user. Okay. It allows you to run admin related commands temporarily. Okay. If I show you an example, the command apt-get nmap didn't work earlier. Permission denied. But if I run the same command with sudo now, it will now ask me my password. And it works. As you can see, the command worked and it tried to install nmap. So it's already the newest version, so I don't need to install it. Okay. Sudo gives or grants you temporary admin related privileges for that one single command. Okay. So now what I'll do is I'll type sudo password, passwd. Now this generates a password for the root account. Give a new password of your choice, retype the same password. And when you type the passwords, they will not be visible for security reasons. Type the correct passwords and this log. Top right corner, log out. Okay. And now I can log in back as root. Please note, you cannot change the name of the root user. It should always be called root itself. So I'll type root here and the password. And you can see now I have complete privileges over the system. I can delete any file, move any file to anywhere, and I can also access this folder called root. As you can see now, the home icon is shown on the root directory. Okay, so that is an indication that you're logged in as the root user. Okay, and in this I can see his or her personal files. Okay, so yeah, that's it, guys. This is a short demo, the last demo actually, I would say, for our course. From Monday, the session link will change, and only for the registered students, the link will be provided. Okay, so this is how you get the root user access. And in the next class, we learn all these other commands available with Kali. Okay, I'll show all of these commands practically. Okay, any questions, Sumit, Vaibhav, Sanya? Right. Vaibhav, any questions on your regarding these folders or the file system? Yeah, okay. Assuming no questions, guys, we can exit the session here. As mentioned, please note this is the last demo. No more links from Monday unless you have registered. So if you have registered, you automatically will get the link on your email and you can join the sessions from Monday. Okay. So yeah, that's that. Nothing further. We can exit the session. Thanks for joining the demos, guys. I hope I kept you interested and interested in the subject and occupied as well. And yeah, please do join the course to learn more, I would say. Okay. Bye bye. Good night. See you soon.